This is episode 370 of The Journey, a conversation on leadership, culture, and creativity. My name is Vidal, and I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity once again to engage into a conversation with you on this beautiful Monday, which is January the 20th. It's hard to believe, but this is moving so very fast. Almost the end of the first month of this beautiful 2020. Adele and I were at the place where we are enjoying parenting at a different stage for multiple reasons. One of them has to do that we have 3 young adults, and we love these guys. We love the fact of what God is doing in their lives, and simply seeing them developed into more independent, their passion to serve Jesus, and they're continuing just to pursue the things that they need to do, and the goals that they have, resolved to obtain, whether it's educationally, vocationally, and even relationally. Now, all those things are wonderful, and we enjoy them, but one of the things that we are enjoying the most is our own kind of independence as a married couple, because we've been on this parenting, trail for a while, and I don't believe that we'll ever stop parenting one another or helping our kids, but at the same time, it's one of those things that we enjoy simply taking off and doing things on our own. So one of the things that we're enjoying kind of recently is just going to the movies, enjoying ourselves, just kind of this dating thing. And recently we went to watch the movie Maleficent #2. I'm not recommending the movie. I'm not endorsing the movie. All that I'm saying is that when we watch this movie from Disney movie Maleficent, it's one of those movies that definitely portrays the views of culture. And I'm not an anti-culture person, but I believe culture allows us to realize some of the blind spots that we have, that I have, especially even as, parents, or maybe in this case, just as individuals. And anyways, in this movie, there's at least 3 things that I learned through the experience of how again, our people is being shaped, culture has been shaped by Disney and media, and I mean, it's just amazing how things, undeniably they are present. And some of these things are unspoken, kind of unspoken rules or unspoken kind of principles. But I'll tell you, one of them has to do, and this is just so relevant to me again, because I go back to my mother, and yesterday was her first 1 month anniversary. It was on the 19th of December that she went to be with Jesus. And I was reminded of that experience because it was painful. I mean, the process to see mom die, the process where we saw cancer taking over, and we understand that death is a result of sin, because we have sin. We experience this physical death. Well, in the movie, there is this there is this undeniable principle that is all over the place, that there is a battle between good and evil. And as much as good and evil is, there's a battle within that. My thing is that, and again, this is the principle that I want to live very, very clearly, that as much as the battle is real, goodness and evil, the concept that morally speaking, it is unavoidable. We have to talk about evil and goodness. And I'm saying this because some people, they don't believe in God, but it is so hard to move away morality without speaking of God. But anyways, my point is that I want to make sure that we understand that this battle is not between God and Satan. On Saturday there was the fight, or the coming back of Conor McGregor into the UFC, this whole concept of fighting and this whole sports of fighting. And apparently, which I didn't watch the fight, but apparently he took this guy, the cowboy, he took the guy in 40 seconds, if I'm not mistaken. So my point is this, that when people talk about good and evil and are mistakenly they think that it is between God and Satan, it's like me getting on the octagon with Conor McGregor. That would not be much of a fight. Or if I were to fight Mike Tyson back in his prime, or even today, that wouldn't be that much of a fight. That's exactly my point. There's no one that can compete, that can battle, that can come to the level of God and try to fight God. So all that I'm trying to say is that the perspective that we have from the Bible between this fight of good and evil is that God is sovereign, and based on his sovereignty, he utilizes, without me fully understanding, he utilizes evil for his purposes. Satan is a servant of God. He rules over hell. Like God is he's not surprised over the death of my mother, the cancer that she battled for 2 years. And I'm not implying that God finds joy when people die, when evil takes the best out of God's people or people in general. All that I'm saying is that, as painful as it is to remember that yesterday was a month of my mother's death, and we received actually her official document of her death, issued by the government, by the state, the death certificate. That's what I'm talking about. That is painful, yet we celebrate the goodness that she is fully alive. That although physically she is long gone from us, but she is fully alive in the presence of God. What's my point? That just proves that the sovereignty of God. That there's a limitation within the power of evil, and there is no limitations within the power of God. So I'm going to say this again: God is sovereign. Evil serves the purposes of God, and the battle is actually between Satan and us, Satan and the church, Satan in our minds, Satan in our desires, Satan in our hearts. So this is the battle that we face on a daily basis, and that's why we continue to say that we as Christians, here's the point: we as Christians, we're still in a battlefield, but we do not fight towards victory. We fight from victory, and this victory is a foreign victory. It's a foreign agent who has given us his victorious life, which is Jesus in us. The second principle that I learned through the movie, and this is another thing that I want to just briefly share with us, is that with me giving away the movie or spoiling the movie for anybody, there is this component of obviously drama and relationships, and there's this beautiful young couple that they fall in love and they get engaged, and eventually looking into marriage. Two things that I learned from the movie. The one thing that I was very, very encouraged to watch in the movie is that they are young, or at least they look young in the movie. Typically in movies, people look older, past their quote-unquote prime, and they're either single, never married, or they're just sleeping around, or they eventually get married, and they're all that I'm saying is this: marry young. People, singles, marry young. Why? Multiple reasons. Number one, we're breathing ourselves out of existence. Discipleship, evangelism begins and happens at home. Churches are places where we equip one another to do those things, but it's not the work of the church, the job of the church, because churches are people, are families. So evangelism and the conveying of the gospel spreads through family relationships, through family nucleus, through healthy marriages. The longer that you wait for marriage, the more baggage you bring into the marriage when you get married, especially if you know that you were not created to be by yourself, if you know that you were not sexually equipped to abstain from sexual relationships. All that I'm saying is that if you are single, if you desire to get married, do it young. That's just my recommendation. The problem with the movie, on this whole relationship, and again, I was encouraged that they're young, but the problem is that both families are just crazy dysfunctional, and this young couple, they will still want to get married. And all that I'm saying is that you just saved yourself and those around you a lot of trouble and unnecessary pain. If you see the writing on the wall and you see that the family, his family, her family, are a little out there and they're not connecting the dots, if you see the obvious where things are not working out, would you just walk away from that relationship? This is just my suggestion. This is just my recommendation. Because, the tragedy is not when we engage into craziness. The tragedy is that we engage into craziness. We see the writing on the wall and we still go for it. We still continue this nonsensical relationship that eventually, I'm speaking of the people because, in the movie there are the in-laws and the mom and the dad and all this dysfunctional thing. And then my mom thinking, dude, he is going to be the grandparents of your kids. Those are going to be your, the uncles and the aunts of your future kids. Anyways, I'm just saying, again, this is just probably kind of just me ventilating some of my frustrations that I see, around us, and especially within the Christian community. You are seeing the obvious and you still go for it. Here's my point. If you're dating relationship, and even if you're engaged, if you need marriage counseling, which I think these guys in the movie needed marriage counseling during their dating time, is the perfect sign for you, the perfect reason why you should not marry this individual and you should stop that dating relationship. Now, it is pretty obvious that if you're having sex, before marriage with this individual, whoever you're dating, I may not give you the benefit of the doubt. I know people change when you have sex. I know sex makes people a little crazy because what sex does is just transforms the view of who you are and who the other individual is. This is why cohabitation, living together, does not work. I'm telling you, that wasn't God's design. That's not how it works. Anyways, so all that I'm saying is that I love for people to get married young. I don't believe that you should marry the right person. I don't think that exists. I think what you do is you do the right thing. And all that I'm saying is that part of doing the right thing is that if you see craziness and you see brokenness, you see this whole self-inflicted pain coming your way because of the person you're dating, part of doing the right thing is exactly moving away from those things and just find somebody, choose somebody, make a decision for somebody that actually appeals a little sanity or something that honors God, whatever the case may be. I'm just saying, stop thinking about this whole soulmate, that there is the universe created someone for you. No, that does not work. It's somebody who has enough sense in their mind, in their brain, that is not driven by emotions or feelings, and at the same time is someone that by the power of God, through the power of God, is able to do the right thing. If you don't know what the right thing is, then obviously we need Jesus. We need to stop dating and just come back to the rudiments, to the principles of righteousness and what is the right thing to be and to do. The last thing that I want to say before I let you guys go and move on with your beautiful beginning of this week is the understanding that because it's Maleficent, because it's this whole movie of evil and goodness and things like that, there's a lot of deception, there is a lot of evil, there is a lot of betrayal, there is a lot of misunderstandings within the movie. I was expecting that. The thing is that yesterday when we presented our message, our Sunday message, I serve as one of the pastors at First Baptist in Far. I spoke of one of the biggest lies that we tell ourselves as Christians. Forget about culture, ourselves as Christians. And it's what this sociologist by the name of Christian Smith from the University of Notre Dame, after doing research and studies of people, especially he speaks of young people, but I think it's people in general. But I know millennials and Gen Zs, you guys are a little different. You guys are a very special group of people, and you guys are a bunch of you guys. I mean, you are a very large generation. He speaks of the component, or what he calls, or he concluded by calling it the moralistic therapeutic deism. And yesterday I mentioned that, and if you go to our website, vidalmuniz.com, you'll find, yesterday's conversation, the whole 40-minute talk over this issue. But it's basically this distorted image of Christianity that is based on morality. And morality, the issue with morality, again, is unavoidable, and this is why I spoke of evil at the beginning, but it's the component that, the misunderstanding and the kind of the lie that we do, or that we believe that everybody is good. And if everybody is good, then religion or church simply makes you better. Well, this is where God is perceived as a coach. Jesus is simply like some sort of a therapist, someone that just helps you to improve and hopefully avoid the mistakes that you made in the past. That's not the gospel. The Bible describes that we are deprived, that we're evil, that we are born into evil relationships. The component of therapeutic is the understanding that God is designed or was created. If there is a God, He exists for my own happiness, for the things that I want and desire. Well, no, we were created for His glory, not Him for us. It's us who were created and designed for His sake, for His holiness, for His righteousness. So Jesus is the perfect human, and His perfection has been given to those who put their trust in Jesus. So this whole concept that, at the end, as long as you have peace with yourself, peace of mind, No, it's not peace of mind. It's peace with God, because we were originally enemies of God. In Jesus, we have been reconciled, and now we have been made ministers of reconciliation, Paul says in 2 Corinthians. So this is the component that we need to understand, that this moralistic therapy deism doesn't work. The concept of deism is, again, the understanding that we are the generation that we believe that there is a supreme being, that there is a God, and, and that, again, He exists for my happiness, and, people are typically good, for the most part. Well, the reality is that when you are a deist, when you just simply believe in deism, it's simply the understanding that I'm running the show, I'm the one in charge, I make my own decisions, and God simply is kind of a supporting cast in my entire component, and if He doesn't do what I'm expecting Him to do, then I just get Him out of the movie, get Him out of the picture, get Him out of my life, and I move on into something else. Folks, those are the three principles that I actually saw through the movie. It's hard, it's difficult to see that we mix Christianity with some of these principles. I think this is exactly where we are. I think that's exactly why this New Testament was written, the Old Testament as well. And today I want to invite you to simply consider these principles, and I pray and I desire that you guys have a wonderful rest of this week, and as you continue to move into the latter part of the month of January. God bless you. Have a great day.